Okay. Hello, everybody. Excuse me. I'm Heather. Heather Dewey Pettit, and welcome. Welcome back to my channel. Sorry. Let's see. So, a lot of times I introduce myself by saying also. So I am a writer, editor, and artist, and what ties all three of those things together is my love of fantasy and science fiction, which is a good thing because tonight is a special deal, and I hope that's not on my end. Anyway, sorry for the feedback. So I have a special guest tonight, and here we go. So also real quick, I've apparently decided on a theme for this series: Necro News. What do you think?
Works for me.
I hope it's catchy. Okay, so get ready for Necro News Volume 3, apparently, or at least now it is. So we're here with Debra Hicks, one of the founders of the Stonehill Science Fiction Fan Club, and she's here to talk all about SoutherMediaCon, which is called the little sister con to Necronomicon Tampa, and let's see. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself real quick?
Okay. Yeah, like Heather said, my name is Debra Hicks, and excuse me, the cat. I was not a founding member but I came in like the second meeting, so pretty close.
Second meeting.
Yeah, second meeting.
Very close.
Yeah. And been hanging around ever since. We did our first convention in '81 at a local USF, University of South Florida, and then went solo and did Necronomicon. Necronomicon is now 43. No, this will be 44. I'm sorry, this is 44.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Somewhere along the line, way back when I was manager of a bookstore, I learned about fan fiction. And fan fiction, if nobody knows, I can give you a quick explanation. But the way that comes into Southern Media is some friends and I used to go to a huge fan fiction convention in Lansing, Michigan. About 2005, I think, somebody said, it'd be nice if we had a fan fiction convention in the South, because it was getting expensive to fly all the way to Michigan or drive to Michigan. And that's kind of how we started. We started, if Necro was in a big hotel, what we found out is, hey, we're giving you all this business and all these people coming into your hotel. Why don't you cut us a little slack and let us have this little tiny convention in the summer when business is slow? And that's how it started. Oops. Okay. So our first year, I honestly don't remember how old we are. We celebrated our 30th, technically, in 2020. But then we lost track because was that 30 or 31? So I'm actually wearing a t-shirt that says our 30th anniversary was 2 years ago, but we're not really sure because we didn't really keep track. That says a whole lot about, about the group that comes. Tiny convention, get about 40 people usually. It is it's definitely lively. We have 2 panel rooms. We have a con suite. We do contests. We show song bids, and that's kind of what we're about. It's not like Necro. It's both in size and in scope. Like I said, it's mostly based on fan fiction and the people that write or read fan fiction. make song bids of different TV shows, that sort of thing. So it's got a history.
It does sound like a good fit for me because I have done a little bit of that. Probably some of the first things I wrote in middle school were essentially that, as a lot of people tend to do.
Yes.
In high school, actually, a little bit. So, so I'm looking forward to heading on over there. Let's see. So the next thing I wanted to say was, so we did talk a little bit about Stonehill, right? So that is the nonprofit organization that operates both Necronomicon Tampa and SoutherNMedia.com.
Right.
Please
also
verify anything I say, by the way. I don't want to say the wrong thing. And I do also have here in the description, both cons have a long history, as you were saying. And let's see, it says Necronomicon since 1982, and you were just talking about that. So let's see. I also have that SoutherNMediaCon has hosted many activities, and you were just talking a little bit about that. Do you want to talk about Necro Gaming Days? And that's 2 days, correct, for gaming of all kinds, including tabletop RPGs?
Yeah. A few years ago, there really weren't a whole lot of gaming conventions around. And so the two people who were head of gaming for Necro, the trick with hotels, just to give you why we work together, is the more sleeping rooms you have, the cheaper the function space. So Southern Media rents 40 sleeping rooms, which is pretty good for a small convention. So we get a really good price break on the function space. So the two heads wanted to do a gaming weekend, and they called it Con Games. And this is probably middle of 90s, I guess, 96, 97. So we rent the sleeping rooms, and we get a price break. So they did Con Games for about 3 years, but then they were kind of overextended and quit. And so same thing with Necro Gaming Day. They're like, hey, this worked before. Everybody had fun. There's not a whole lot of gaming cons out there. What if we came in with you guys? And I'm like, sounds good. We can do that. And there's a lot of tables. It's 20 tables starting at 9 a.m. and going till midnight on Saturday, and 9 a.m. to 6 on Sunday. One price gets you as many games as you can play in that number of hours. So,
are you saying the price of the badge, or are you saying how does that work out? How does the pricing work out?
Well, unlike some gaming conventions where you pay to play a game, this is like you pay one price, you get your badge, and you're good to go.
And
there's no additional charge. We are sharing a con suite. That's the one thing that's the one where the two conventions collide or enjoy each other. I'm not sure how we do that. So there's a shared con suite. And then Southern Media has 2 panel rooms in another part of the hotel. So it worked great with Con Games. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it'll be fun. I hope that they get a pretty good crowd. I know that like I said, there are no gaming conventions, strictly gaming conventions in Tampa that I know of. A few gaming shops will run gaming days, but for actually just stay the whole weekend and have, play games all the time. This is the only one I know about. There's a couple in Orlando, but that's about it. I think one in Jacksonville too. So it should be fun.
Sounds very interesting. So how about some examples of different types of games that would be available?
Oh gosh, I know there's card games. So I know there's Magic, There's Yu-Gi-Oh. There's Pokemon. There's tabletop battle games, the ones where you take 4 giant tables and they like build a whole landscape, and then the Napoleonic army is over here, and the British are over here, and then you have to fight it out.
Gotcha.
Lots of tabletop, obviously D&D, Call of Cthulhu, well, I guess not Champions. That's kind of old. I'm dating myself with that one.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, that was a while ago. D&D is still around though. There are so many games now. I can't even begin to. But it's there are no computer games. It is strictly tabletop.
It is okay. That I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
For sure.
We offered at the last con games, they did offer room of video games, online video games, and nobody really played. I think they can do that at home. So live and having people to talk to, and having, go buy games right there in the same room from the vendors. Kind of was a different feel, and I think they enjoyed it more. So they really weren't that concerned about gaming, online gaming at the time. Games usually run 2 hours, so you can play, like I said, how many tables, or if for some reason your entire D&D group dies out, well, then you can switch tables and start a new game. Let's see, they're doing some trivia. No, they're not. I take that back. They do have 3 vendors. We didn't have a separate vendor room, but they do have 3 gaming vendors that will be selling stuff. We also, because we're sharing space, Necro or Southern Media has a huge section of tables of items that were donated to the club that we sell with the money going back to the club. And we have some gaming stuff, and although mostly jewelry and books, for some reason we ended up with a lot of jewelry and books. And like I said, the con suite, there'll be snacks. Southern Media has pizza evening. We tried to get a food truck, but we weren't successful, unfortunately. We don't have enough people. They wanted 600, and we're like, we don't have 600 people. So we'll see how that goes. But it's different. I think the gamers are going to be surprised at having a con suite right there, because unless you've gone to Necro, most conventions nowadays do not have a con suite. And so that's different. It's a place where you can hang out, have a snack, have a drink, chat with other people, and just relax in between games. So I think they'll enjoy that part of it. Of course, if they've been to Necro, they're used to a con suite, because Necro has the world's best con suite.
I would agree.
Yep. I was actually at a convention in Lansing, and somebody from Tampa bumped into me at the elevators, and they're like, "Hey, the con suite here at this convention." And I went, "What do you mean? What?" And then I stopped myself, and I went, "Oh, wait. No. You're comparing apples to caviar, because it's not the same. That con suite had like some chips and soda. Like, not the same thing at all." So we're not quite as fancy as Necro, but we do have more than chips and soda. We'll have cookies and cheese and all sorts of goodies like that. So, yeah, Southern Media, we have a cheese tasting. I was a cheesemonger for 12 years, so that's
oh my goodness.
Wow.
Yes, all the things. You should know all the things.
I do, and I keep asking. After 14 years now, I'm like, do you guys want to do something different? Do you want to, like, I don't know, cookies, cake, fruit, something? And they're like, no, cheese is cheese. Just bring us cheese. And I will do that. Me and Costco will take care of that.
You know what to get.
Yeah. But you were mentioning that you started writing fan fiction in middle school, I guess.
It was kind of the gateway to. It's not exactly what I wanted to do, but this is interesting now.
It's amazing when you're in that. I mean, I started writing in '88, and I started. That was the year I went to the convention the first time with a friend that had been writing and editing since like '74.
Oh, wow.
I think she knew all these people, but only through mail. Like real square, like letters, like honest to goodness letters. And so when I through circumstances, I had to stop going to Worldcon because of a job. I couldn't get the time off. And I Relaine, I said, I've heard of this convention that's all fan fiction. I have 2 weeks vacation. Why don't we drive up and we'll visit my grandmother. We'll go to Mammoth Cave. We'll visit Secretariat. Of course, you had to make an appointment.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. So we made a road trip of it, and it was amazing. The amount of people who went pro after writing fan fiction.
Yeah, or the fan fiction became published. Yeah,
scrubbing off the numbers. Yeah, scrubbing off the numbers, as they would say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But
stuff like that.
A few years after we were going to that convention, I went from '88 until 2012, and we had Barbara Hamley was one of our guests of honors at Necro one day a few years ago, and she got out of the car at the hotel, walked past my friend Relaine and said, "Hi, Relaine," and just kept walking. And I turned to Relaine and I said, "Do you know Barbara Hamley?" She's like, "No, I have no idea." Turns out Relaine had worked the blood drive at the fan fiction convention. Barbara Hamley, who used a fanfic pseudonym, had given blood and passed out. Relaine caught her and put her back on the table. And she will not tell you to this day what she writes fan fiction under, but she still writes fan fiction under that name. So there's a lot of people out there that, Marion Zimmer Bradley started with fan fiction. She wrote fan fiction. I can't remember anybody else right now, but yeah, there's a lot of folks out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of folks. I can't think of anybody offhand right now, but I've been thinking. The ironic thing is, I've been thinking a lot lately about trying that again.
It's fun,
especially as a springboard to other things. I mean, when I was in high school. As a senior, they were doing assignments and stuff, and it was, you're a senior, and they weren't really doing much, weren't making you do anything.
John, get out of there.
And so, we were supposed to write short stories, I guess, in an English class. And I got assigned 2 other people, and they didn't want to have anything to do with it. They had no interest. I was like, well, how about this idea? I don't know. And they were like, eh. But essentially it was a parody of a Star Trek parody, which went really well with what we were doing at that high school at the time. Anyway, so, they weren't into it, but I was like, this is kind of fun.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't think I finished it.
I actually, when I started back for my master's in 2002, missed a few years there between, one degree and another. I was working at the University of Tampa, and they had you could do classes free, but they also had a deal where you could get class credit through life experiences. So, so I got public speaking. Yeah, I can kind of do that. And I got creative writing by I went and talked to the professor, and she's like, well, give me some samples and, I'll look at them. Well, the only thing I write is fan fiction. And I told her that, and I gave her, a couple of short stories. I do write slash, I do write smut. I'll be honest right there. But I didn't give her those. I gave her action adventure western.
So it's okay. It's okay.
And the funny part was, I came back after the holidays to get it. She'd read them over the holidays, and she's like, "Yeah, here's your sign. Here's your credits, 4 credits. Do you have any more of this that I could read?" And I'm like, "Sure, let me give you some."
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it was really great. I mean, I think my ego was inflated for at least a year.
That would have done it for me as well.
Yeah. Well, this group is really, obviously, I won't say all of us write fanfic, but we all met through that, or met through other people that did that. Probably, well, of the 45 people that come, I'd say 30 at least are either writers or artists of the fan art,
Okay.
So that we used to do more on writing, but lately people are just more into sitting around talking about different TV shows or, movies. We do some character examinations. I'd like to get back into doing we used to do a writer's workshop, both at Necro and at Southern Media, it was very popular. The Necro one,
I always tended to miss it.
Yeah, well, we haven't done it in a while. Gosh, the last time we did it was probably 2007, I guess.
Oh, okay.
But we always had.
I started attending as an adult.
Yeah.
I keep
saying. We had some pros that would sit in. Rick Wilbur, CJ Sherry, John Broody are the ones I remember. And the way it's done, you can only do 10 people because there's only so much time that you have at a convention. But it was always well received. So maybe one day we'll resurrect it at Necro and try it again.
I'm trying.
Yeah,
there might be a couple of things going on. So.
Yeah. But we used to do, like we would do at Southern Media, how to write description, how to write dialogue,
great.
How to do research, how much research do you need? No, you don't need to tell us everything you learned in 4th grade about, something.
Mm-hmm. Hey, that's even reporters do that.
Yes, yeah.
I know.
We don't need to know everything you know.
Former freelance journalist.
Yeah. Southern Media, so most of the panels are just, we have 3 recommendation panels, because what we found out was that one of the main things is, like, you'd have a topic, the new Star Wars movie. Well, that would morph into a half an hour of, oh, have you seen this? Have you seen that? Be sure to watch this. So it became so popular that now we have one on recommending streaming, recommending movies, and recommending books.
Nice.
An hour of each. So and people sit there and take notes, and they'll go read it and come back this year and talk about what they read last year. So that's always fun. We have a pub quiz, which Anne runs, which is fun. It's not science. Everybody expects, because we're related to a science fiction club, that the pub quiz is going to be mostly science fiction and fantasy, right? But no, we had topics like chocolate, Australian slang, flags of all nations, geography, geology.
Wow. That sounds interesting, though.
It is. It's fun. And it's just a matter of, you come into the con suite, there's 8 tables. It's like, okay, everybody at one table, that's your team right there. Nope, you can't change spaces. You got to just sit there with those people. And it's a good way to meet new folks, too.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that we did for years.
house.
What's that? Yeah.
Every once in a
I think
while.
we did for years, and unfortunately, it's kind of died off. But years ago, there was bad fan fiction readings at conventions where you would go out on the net and you would find the worst possible story that you could.
Okay.
And then you would read it live in the con suite at midnight because everything is funnier at midnight.
Yeah, by that time you're punch drunk from so much social interaction all day, right?
Yeah, you're tired, you've had too much coffee, or you had an extra cider for dinner. So, but unfortunately, this is going to sound strange, and I don't mean it to be insulting. It's harder to find good bad than it used to be.
Okay.
You can find bad,
know what
but
you're
it's not
going
the
for.
level that makes it funny, Because in fact, now people are actually recording some of the bad stuff that they're reading. Some people have even gone so far as to make videos of some of the fiction that we read years ago.
And all kinds of things. And, a lot of writing groups that I'm in online, there's all kinds of talk about, if I hear one more time about how women are described in certain not well-written.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's some bad out there. So because it's become more of a challenge to find the best of the worst, this year we're just reading the classics and whatever bad pro stuff we can find, because there's a lot of bad pro stuff out there. Just hilarious stuff. And some of it's deliberate. There's a writer named Chuck Tingle who
Yes.
bad stuff.
Right.
And there's a couple of romance writers who will, now they say it's deliberate. I believe them, maybe. Where in the middle of a normal fantasy romance, there'll be this one chapter that's just insane. And right now, Catherine Hill is one of the people that does it. And I've read 2 of the chapters in 2 different books that are just, she writes time-traveling Viking romances. So,
wow.
And she's got like 30 books out or something, but she says she throws in a chapter every so often to see if her editor is paying attention. Obviously they're not, because let me tell you, they're hilarious.
As an editor, I would be.
Yeah, I know.
What are you sending me?
So this year we're going to just read whatever bad stuff we can find, or whatever we think is funny. That do you remember?
Look forward to this.
It was during Trump's first election, when he talked about the Battle of Bowling Green and the airplanes at the Revolutionary War. And somebody started a whole thread of letters from the front. Go look them up. They're hilarious. We read like a whole bunch of those one time just because they were really well written, and they all had like Ken Burns kind of music in the background. So, letters from the front. Today we took Hobby Lobby. Unfortunately, the Chick-fil-A fell yesterday. It was hilarious. So they're definitely worth reading. So we're going to go back and find some of those. Bad Harry Potter, bad Lord of the Rings, that sort of thing.
Gotta have something.
Reference
people would. A lot of people would get. Makes sense.
The other thing we do is, and I've seen this, I have not seen this at any science fiction convention. I've seen it in anime cons, but I think it first was the thing at fan fiction cons, and that is song bids, where you take a song and you cut clips from whatever to fit the song. Probably the The first one I ever saw was Holding Out for a Hero, edited with Indiana Jones. And they're really well done. Later on, when anime cons really caught on, they're called anime music videos versus song vids.
Okay.
But some of them are amazing. Some of them are just the technology required and the patience required to put some of those together. But they're really fun. Holding Out for a Hero, probably the anthem of everything from Indiana Jones, Star Trek, every Marvel movie you've ever thought of. And then you'll get some that'll make fun of that song by doing like The Simpsons to it, or King of the Hill, things like that.
Okay.
But some of them are quite good. And so we do 3 video shows. We have 3 people who always want to do them, and they'll spend a year collecting what they think is the best. And then we also have one that's just one person has like 500 vids that she's collected over the years. And so we'll do the best of, it's like, oh, what about that one that we saw 3 years ago that was, about, Captain Kirk and Captain Picard or something meeting up. So those are fun. Those are a lot of fun. Some people actually make them contests. I don't know if we'll do one this year, but a few years ago there was a song and they had taken little clips, and it was like, you had to name the show and name the character that was getting the girl. There were 42 shows in a 4-minute song. So that was fun. That was fun to do. And that was pretty amazing editing too. The anime song vids are quite nice too. I'm not familiar with that many anime, so it's not as interesting. But I've seen some really good ones, depending on the style.
I grew up with a few things, but
yeah, same here.
I wasn't exposed to a lot of the more newer things.
Yeah,
but
I've only seen, I don't know, maybe a dozen shows, and some of them, yeah, I just couldn't catch on.
Yeah.
First time a chick showed up, just like, what? What's a chibi?
And stuff.
Lost me completely.
Don't you love my life? Okay. Never mind. Moving on. So is there anything else that stands out in your mind about SoutherNMediaCon? The one thing I'm thinking of is that it's being held in Clearwater, Florida. Famous
Yes.
Clearwater, Florida. And,
like I said, we started out with Necro. So wherever Necro went, we followed. And then, gosh, I guess about 8 years ago, the big hotels didn't give you a price break in the summer anymore. And we couldn't afford the same money that Necro can for room nights and stuff. Right. So we started looking for smaller hotels. Mm-hmm. We were in Lakeland 4 times. We were in, wait, was that right? 1, 2, 3, 4. We were in Tampa a couple times. And then we moved to, let's see, we were in Largo twice, and now we're in Clearwater. I do have a couple of hotels bidding for information, are bidding for proposals, offering proposals. So we might be back in Tampa. A lot depends on how Gaming Day goes. Okay. Because we did have to pay for more room for Gaming Day. Sure. So if they go again, we'll probably still be in Clearwater. If they decide to take a 2-year break or go every other year, we'll probably be back in Largo. But I do have a proposal from the Hilton. Oh, no, I don't. I have a proposal from the Holiday Inn on West Shore, which we had been at before.
Yes.
Also. So.
And Necronomicon as well.
Yeah. The other thing about Southern Media that I should mention is we do have a lot. Like I said, we do have vendors. We only have a few. We only have 3 vendors because it's a small group. And then we have all the charity tables where you can buy all kind of stuff, books, signed books, collector's books, models, put together models. Let's see, crafters. Oh, we have a lot of crafters, by the way. If you go into the con suite at Southern Media, there'll probably be some people crocheting, knitting, spinning, making jewelry, and just sitting around talking. And yeah, somebody brings their wheel, and just sits there and spins. And there are the same people who do the craft panels at Necro will help people. We don't do a panel or a workshop on craft or knitting, crocheting, but there's always somebody there that be more than happy to offer advice on what you're doing.
Oh, good, because because I have a mental block about knitting and crocheting, but I want to do it.
I tried. I just cannot get it. I just couldn't keep the whole thing going.
Yeah.
So I stick with writing.
I made one thing. That was a darn little square.
These people are amazing too. I mean, now the one person won't be there this year, but she's won for quilting. She wins at the state fair like every year for her quilts. I don't think she'll be there this year. She might. I know she's gone right now, but she might be there. We're mostly a local group. We do get a few people. There's like 7 or 8 from out of state that always come. And then we always have a really great dead dog party. We pick a kind of expensive restaurant and go out on Sunday. So this year we're going to the Columbia on Clearwater Beach. So yeah, you can't go wrong with Columbia. What a great restaurant.
World famous Columbia restaurant. And
there's world famous.
A few around Florida. I know there's one in St. Augustine.
Yep. Ybor City, St. Augustine,
Tampa. The original is the Ybor, right?
Yep.
It's in Ybor City, Florida.
Yep. And then they have one in Tampa, which is 5 miles away, but still considered, in Tampa. As far as fan fiction itself, because it's interesting. The panels at Southern Media there was like a limited number of fan things that you could talk about. Star Trek, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. Everybody saw those, and that's what was out there. Yeah. And now that's why the recommendation panels are so popular. We had one panel actually called "Too Much of a Good Thing." You just can't keep up anymore. It's like,
oh yeah, right.
I have seen this on streaming. I haven't seen that. I saw this on Apple. That was on Netflix. Do you watch this one? Do you pay for that one? And so where it used to be, everybody be talking about 2 or 3 different shows. We've kind of gone more meta now. It's like, let's talk about the hero's journey. Let's talk about redemption arcs. Let's talk about
more writing.
Yeah, and the new shows that have all the female leads, things like that. So it's I think the only 2 panels that are show specific. Yeah, Kat. We always do a Star Trek panel because there's always Star Trek. No matter what else, there's always Star Trek. And we probably will have a Marvel panel going on this year.
So what about Doctor Who? Is there a Doctor Who?
I did not get a request for that one this year, but it will. We do have British shows, so that one will probably roll into British shows. We also have
thinking about history of TV sci-fi TV shows, which was the first was Doctor Who, I think, regularly. What am I trying to say? At least one of the first.
In America?
Worldwide, because I know Dr.
TV, yeah. I think there might have been some 50s shows in the U.S. that might predate it. But
Boston Space, that was later. That was more mid-60s.
I mean, there was Tom Corbett, Space Cadet. That was, 50-something? And of course,
that.
Yeah, and if you don't count the anthology shows like Twilight Zone, which
I was going to say that too. I was like, yeah, but that wasn't necessarily sci-fi, but it had a lot of aspects of it.
Right. Yeah, it was more, managed to lose an earring here. We do talk about, you know, if you've been around fan fiction for any length of time, you know that there's a lot of smut involved with fan fiction. So we're not afraid to talk about that either. You know, some people, yep. Usually wait until, and some people are like a little prudish about it, and some people are like, whatever, you know. But the song bits will frequently have, you know, same sex coupling going on. So, and we'll usually talk about the fallout of, I shouldn't say fallout, the vast changes in fan fiction between when fanzines ruled and AO3 in the net, you know, and the radical difference in the attitudes towards fan fiction. In fact, that's one of our panels, you know, the changing attitudes towards fan fiction, as featured on AO3, and people talking about it. So I know that, yeah, it's just a totally different thing out there, and it's amazing. I don't know if you've looked at the stats for AO3 Archive of Our Own.
I need to get in there. I've been there.
I looked, it's got 8 million stories.
I know at least one writer who's in there.
Yeah.
Correction. I probably know at least 3 who has.
Yeah, I'm on there. Some of my friends, some of the people you'll meet at Southern Media are on there. I set up a memorial page for Relaine, my friend that first got me into fan stories, fan fiction. But just the difference in, you know, the world, I mean, and the writing and how you met people and all of that. It's truly amazing. I mean, there's 8 million stories, 57,000 fandoms. I didn't even know there were that many TV shows in the world, but I was like, what? No, seriously? 15 million,
Did my jaw just hit the floor?
15 million users. Those aren't all writers, of course, but just, you know, just readers or writers. And it's just amazing. It's pretty scary. Yeah, some of the fandoms now. Gaming. I mean, who would have thought gaming would be such a wealth of fan fiction? But it's
right.
Really out
there. There's a lot of it. You know, even at, say, you go to one of those. I forget what the name of the store is, but there's at least a couple of malls in our area. There's that store that has calendars and games and toys and stuff like that. It's called, but you'll find stuff like that there. All kinds of things related. You know, say there's Monopoly, but there's Monopoly everything.
Yeah. Well, that's all kinds. You know, that's kind of become. You know, when we first started Necro and when we first started Southern Media, geeks were a small minority of both book readers, moviegoers, and now geeks are geek. I mean, we're everywhere.
Cool, necessarily. Even when I was, you know, we lived long enough to become cool. You know, because yes.
I think one of the funniest, you know, Ann and I are both obviously very gray-haired, and we did a panel at MetroCon. You know, MetroCon is 14,000 person anime con in Tampa, and we helped launch. Just to get a little plug in here for us again, one of our members did anime, a whole room of anime of shows, and this is probably 1990, where he literally had to get the stuff from Japan to show, and it was hugely popular. And so I said, look, we're doing Southern Media. Why don't you join us? Just like with Con Games, we'll get the space, we'll get the rooms, we'll give you the space. Their first year, they had 400 people. The second year, they had 750 people. And the third year, they had 1,500. They could not handle the crowd. They had to stop selling tickets. And the fourth year, they went solo. They went to the Tampa Convention Center because they long since outgrown our hotel. And now they're in their 30th year, I think. And get 12 to 14,000 people. And so that was pretty amazing. We've actually shared with a lot of other conventions because, if you couldn't afford to do your own convention, join us, and that way we'll both make money. We have shared with a Space 1999 convention twice, including at that point, Barry Morris was still alive, and one of the other actors was still alive. And same thing, we shared a con suite, and they had their panels, and we had a vendor's room. What else have we shared? We've shared with Con Games, Space 1999, anime. We've had a few others approaches, but kind of fell through. But yeah, we were at MetroCon because we used to do a whole room of science fiction, just like Necro. We'd take Necro panels and do a room there. They always let us in free and gave us, memberships because, we helped them get started. But one time we did a panel or a game or something, and then we were sitting out in the hall. And like I said, this is 10,000 people. It's packed. And this one kid, he was probably 20, I guess, but he walked over to Ann and I, and he goes, I hope I'm as cool when I'm old. We're like,
oh my gosh, it
was great. It was fun.
That's a very nice young person.
And
it would be very nice if somebody told me that this year, because I'm just having a milestone this year. So,
and you get used to them after a while. It's like, it's no big deal.
Let's just say I hit a big one 5 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Started with 5. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, we did think that was pretty funny. And I know that the term now, I don't know if it's applying over to regular science fiction conventions, but at fan fiction conventions, if you wrote for fanzines or you edited for fanzines or you had anything to do with print zines, you're now called a fandom granny, which I'm good with. Although somebody said, well, I like fandom elder better. And I'm like, I don't care. Either one's fine by me, So
I remember it must have been at the con that we went to when we were in Tampa when I was young in 1984. I think that's when probably where my brother brought back some kind of fanzine. It was like put together, hand drawn. And a lot of typos but really cool, interesting poems and little stories. I just remember looking at it and thinking, what is this?
Some of fanzines. A lot of fanzine writers have kind of this rose-colored glasses look back. I have to say, the editors I dealt with were amazing. They were pro quality or easily better than some pro books. But on the other hand, there were the ones. Right. Yeah, there were those too. I bought one out of England one time that seriously was like, oh my God. She'd obviously let her 3-year-old, do the art. And but some of the stuff, like I said, it was amazing. And some of the art was just incredible. I still have, out of the 300 I had before Hurricane Milton came along, we salvaged 173 out of the 300, and the bottom went. But going back through them to see which ones had my stuff, because I'm egotistical enough to want to replace the ones I lost. And I'm going through there going, damn, look at that great art. Damn, look at that great art, and great editing. But yeah, there were a few. There was always, but when you've got kind of a free product, not free exactly, because, the people did pay for it, but there were always a few ripoffs, but they were not the majority at all. Great art. The funny thing is, while salvaging some of the stuff, I found the first letter I got back from the very first story I sent to a zine. And I still remember, this was 88, and I remember getting it back in an envelope. Ooh, exciting. And I pulled it out, and it was covered in red, and I stuck it back in, and I stuck it in the drawer and said, that's it. I'm never writing again. And like a week later, I'm like, all right, calm down.
Wow. Right. Calm down, because you love doing. You love doing something if you're willing to even have somebody, a professional type of people, look at it.
Right.
I remember the first thing I ever submitted to anybody, and that was nerve-wracking and exciting, and I don't know what other descriptors can I think of.
Yeah.
Right.
The funny thing is, I found the original letter, and when I opened it again and looked at it, it's like, oh, this is nothing. This is not. And I published 3 times with this one editor, and I still have the last one from the last story. So the first one was 3 pages of here's what you need to fix. Mm-hmm. And the last one was a postcard. They said your action scene on page 12 is too long. Cut it down. And I took 1,000 words out, and she was right. I mean, she was always right. She was a great editor. And so getting with the right editor, as pros know, it makes a big difference on anything. And she's still around. She was, I forget her name. Well, I know her name, but I noticed that SoMeCon that was in Puerto Rico, was it 3 years ago? That's if Worldcon is out of the country, they do SoMeCon somewhere in the U.S.
I know what you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah. And, they always have a fan guest of honor, and usually it's somebody that's, a writer. I mean, not a writer, but nonfiction related, or they do art or something like that. But they actually had a very nice lady named Paula Smith, who was the first person to coin the phrase Mary Sue. That was actually hers, and she's a lovely lady. She has a PhD in mathematics, but she coined that phrase. And so they actually had a fan fiction writer as their fan guest of honor, which was really cool. I wish I did. I wish I'd known she was going, but I didn't make it over. It was in Puerto Rico, so it wasn't that far away. But yeah, I was there at her wedding, because at that point, same-sex weddings were not legal. So they got married at the convention in Michigan, and then moved to Canada, like right afterwards. And but PhD in mathematics, she got a job really fast in Canada.
Yes, I can imagine.
Yeah. But there's a lot of there was a lot of good stuff out there, and you can still find a lot of it on AO3. It just takes a little more digging than it used to, because nothing's edited anymore. It's just posted out there.
Yeah, I've heard many stories.
Yeah, well,
it's like, it's a rough draft, but here I'll just whatever, just look.
Yeah, of course I've had the same thing with the self-pub too, self-publishing.
Yeah,
right.
And there's that on Amazon. Yes, I've seen.
Oh yeah. I found a few that were really good. I found one that I went, first page. Nope. I'm out of there.
Yeah. I have stories. I have lots of stories about things I have not bought. Anyway,
Oh, yes.
not going down that rabbit hole. Because you probably would get back to SoutherNMediaCon.
I was just about to say, I guess if I have one warning about people coming to Southern Media, I should warn you that in the con suite there will be political talk. Just be aware of that. I know some conventions, Necronomicon being one, has a no politics policy.
Uh-huh.
We don't, so just be ready. I mean, not to say it'll happen all the time, but especially Friday night when we first get there and get fired up over something, that's gonna roll. And as I said, a lot of writers write slash, what used to be called slash. I guess now the nomenclature is just smut. Anything with sex in it is smut. Okay, I find the word kind of weird.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's a lot of people use that term tongue in cheek, even if it applies in that way.
Right.
But I don't know. It's one word and it's one syllable, so I guess it worked.
Yeah, I didn't realize it until, well, really about 2020, when I started reading more on AO3. I was posting, but I wasn't reading a whole. I was posting old stuff, so I wasn't really reading a lot. And then everybody was talking about smut, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, is that same sex, or is that everything? Is that like
graphic stuff?
And they're like, nope, it's anything. It's anything with sex. Okay, well,
or some people say spicy though.
It's what?
Some people say spicy, but that's
spicy,
though, not lightweight. A little bit more lightweight than some.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, I like that better. I like that better than smut. And I have seen that used. Yeah, I have seen that used. As far as what we talk about, like I said, we'll probably be talking about. There's a panel on cozy mysteries.
I was looking at
both TV and books. Cozy fantasies, which I guess have become kind of a thing now.
Yeah. I'm getting very curious about that. I need to read more of that.
Shape-shifting fantasies. I'm not into them, but a lot of people are.
A lot of people are. They're very popular. People who read a lot of romantasy. It's a lot of that. There's shapeshifters and all kinds of things, and I know that people just cycle through them, and they'll and the writers, they write like just a long series of these sorts of things.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I know.
Write what you like. Read what you like.
So, yep, exactly. I had never heard that term until just like this week. Romances.
Oh, really?
Yay!
I've heard it for I don't know, about the last 3 years, probably.
Yeah, we have a friend. One of the girls that's coming is she's won several awards for romances. Although hers tend to be superhero romances.
Oh, okay.
I can see that. In the same category or not? Yeah. She usually goes to the Romance Writers of America conventions, but she knows all of us because she was a fan writer first. So, yep, she started. Like you said, several of our members have scrubbed off the numbers, changed the names, and sold it. We had one member that did Horatio Hornblower. Remember the series?
Yeah.
Yeah, she wrote fan fiction for that and changed the names and sold it. And yeah, whatever. I don't think I can do that, but if it works for you and get your foot in the door, I guess. We had one person that was writing Star Wars fic and ended up becoming an erotic writer and was making a pretty good living at it last time we saw her.
Wow. There you go.
It's job.
It's it's a you can make a living doing that.
Yeah,
For sure. Yeah, all kinds of topics going on. So
it's first convention. Just to wrap up, I guess it's mostly very laid back. It's, I'd say, 80% women.
Okay.
There's I used to joke, and everybody will get it. It's not true now, but when we first started, it was like 35 women and 2 gay guys, and now it's not. Now it's more. We're more diverse now, but we do have younger people coming in. There for a while, it was mostly older fans coming in through the fantasy side, but now we're getting some anime fans, some people that come from Necro. So that's nice that we have a little more variety coming in. So yeah, there'll be about, like I said, 40, 45 people. Very laid back. The topics, we try to stay on topic mostly. Like I said, if it drifts off that way, we might drag it back. We might not. There's the pub quiz and the Vogon readings, and that's what we started calling it originally, was Vogon Prose. Vogon Prose. Now it's just become Vogon readings instead. So a little of everything. But I think people would enjoy it. It's a nice,
got to think about trademarks. Possible copyrighted characters and stuff. Or other things like games, as Perry Bruns was telling me last month.
Right.
Let's see.
We don't have a lot of crossover as far as it, people coming to Southern Media are more than welcome to sit in on the games. We've never had that happen. We have had a couple of gamers drift into some of our panels. Unfortunately, one of them was right in the middle of Vogon Prose, and I think he did a classic spit take at one of the scenes that we were reading. It was a sex scene. What can I tell you? So that was kind of funny. But yeah, it's mostly just a real relaxing even. We take a break. Unlike some conventions, we actually break for lunch and dinner. We have a pizza party on Friday. It's $10 if you want to join us.
Okay.
It is $65 now, $75 at the door, and $10 for the pizza.
That was okay. Gotcha. To get all that in at once,
Right. So it's $10 if you get the membership now, and $75 at the door. I didn't want to go up, but the hotel's gotten expensive, and hopefully we'll hold the line for a couple of years before we have to go up again. And ensuite's always full, always got drinks, always got snacks.
There you go.
So that
I'm just going through all that. I've been reading the schedule that you sent me. All the things, lots of different things. The song vids you were talking about. Bad movies, but so much fun.
Yeah, those are. During the lockdown, my family, to keep the local restaurants in business, we would go get takeout, bring it home, and watch a movie. And we started, we watched the Marvel movies, we watched Hamilton, we watched Broadway, and then we started deliberately looking for bad movies, and we watched things like Velocipaster, about a pastor who gets bit by a velociraptor, crashed by, and it just went from there. There's some really bad, funny movies out there, so they're quite. Redemption arcs is always a hot topic.
I saw that.
Are redemption arcs a good thing, bad thing? Are they overdone? Is everything a redemption arc these days? So that one can get hot, actually.
Yeah.
Especially if you bring up Star Wars.
Well, how could I not bring that up? Which I was just about to. So.
Yeah, exactly. So that one's trying to think of what else. Star Trek, of course. The new female leads that are a lot of the shows are now have, which is good. British Mysteries. British shows. I think we just have Brit shows out there.
Awesome.
And like I said, it doesn't always stay on topic.
But in the books.
I'm sorry.
But in the books. But in the books, it was that way. And is it people debating?
Yep, that'll be a hot one too. That'll get a little spicy. You know?
Oh, yeah.
We have some really high-hard. but Lord of the Rings, it's like it's a movie. Okay, it's just
it's a movie. Yeah. It's not. You know, it'd have to be a 9-hour movie, and then another 9-hour movie, and a third 9-hour movie.
Or that one's always pretty lively.
I believe it.
Gosh, I'm not sure what else is out there.
Best endings.
Oh yeah, that's things like great opening scenes or great entrances and good endings. The entrances we brought up were, obviously Vader has one of the best entrances in any movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Captain Jack Sparrow, the first time you see him, great entrance, and of course then you had great. And then I think we're doing one on In the Nick of Time, which is, when the cavalry comes riding in to save people, when the Enterprise comes in at just the right moment, when the good guys show up at Rise of Skywalker, that sort of thing. And then I think we still had the one that, we also do some of the best of, like this was really good, and recommendations. I can't even think of what's on the schedule right now.
I see a couple though that sound really, really interesting. Just when I was about to quit. So that sounds like about series.
Yep. Well, it's about books and TV. Okay. And I suggested that one because I noticed that I need to give shows like 3 episodes. I was watching Mandalorian, and it was okay until I realized in the 3rd episode it's actually a Western.
Yeah.
And just go with it.
It's a Western that's where there's a morally gray character, and then he's got to get this kid somewhere.
Yeah. And it's also a redemption arc, so you could talk about that too.
Yeah.
The other one I was watching was Witcher, which was boring as all get out until the 3rd episode when I realized this is not linear. This is taking place in 3 different timelines, and you didn't notice it. And it's like, okay, now I'm kind of interested. I might have to watch this.
Now I'm interested because I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's you kind of go, wait a minute, what happened right there? What? Indigenous tales, because there's finally a lot of series about based in indigenous reservation dogs, Dark Winds, North by North, Smoke Signals. So these are all kind of suddenly
specifically
stories.
United States kind of deal. Indigenous as in America.
Yeah, natives.
Specifically Native American.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
American Indians.
Also say fantasy series that are written with an indigenous culture / whatever within this certain what's the word I'm looking for? It's getting late. Just a specific time frame, country, and then say the author is either from there or they have that genealogy, and so they're writing about this particular culture. I don't know, fantasy or something.
Oh yeah.
So I know that's
well. There's the pretty normal indigenous tales like Dark Winds, which incorporate the culture, but don't really have any mystical elements. But then you get Reservation Dogs, Northern Exposure, North by North. And those tend to drift into the realm of mystic realism, where everything looks pretty normal, and then suddenly there's this weird shit. There's something weird goes on.
Magical realism.
Yeah, mystic realism.
There's a lot of that set in Mexico.
Oh yeah, if you get into Mexican stuff, it really gets even more so. Also, there's a Norwegian series that starts out as like this murder mystery thing, and then suddenly you're not so sure. It's like they find this, not Inuit, whatever culture that would be, that they've broken into, and suddenly the dogs are going crazy, and so that was an interesting take. Iceland has some interesting ones too. North by North is Canadian, so that's set north of North. Reservation Dogs, look like your typical coming of age story, and suddenly you got spirits running around and deer woman killing people, and
now I know what that's about.
Yeah. Reservation Dogs is a really good one. I'm trying to think of some others. El Diablero out of Mexico is a really good one. Very much cultural, but also it's sort of the Mexican version of Supernatural. Running around hunting demons. But there's a Singaporean series that's really good. Again, mostly Singapore culture. Sort of like Scooby-Doo, actually. There's a bunch of teenagers in it, and it's mostly played light. It's not like some of the others where it's really bloody and gross. But you learn a lot about the supernatural in the area and just the culture in general. So that one's pretty good. Midnight Club is what it's called. No, I'm sorry, Mr. Midnight. If you ever poke around. That was a good one. So yeah, there's quite a few now that you can get outside of just normal America, if you will, that has that little touch of supernatural going on with it, or just brings in cultures that you're not familiar with. That's kind of fun. I think one of the other panels is feel good shows, which is always good. That would be like Ted Lasso. A lot of our shows are not science fiction and fantasy. There'll be things like Ted Lasso, cop shows, lawyer shows, that sort of thing. So feel good show, Ted Lasso, Northern Exposure, that sort of thing where, just everybody's really nice. There's redemption arcs and everybody's happy. And so
there's, although I do see a panel talking about Wolverine and Deadpool. Not seen yet.
Yeah. Oh, that was the only one of the we talk about Marvel. We got a Marvel panel, and of course we have the Star Trek panel. Yeah, but exactly. Wolverine and Deadpool was so off the scale, both in what it was doing, how it did it.
The scale and casting, I've heard some things, and
oh my god, the cameos in that movie,
random appearances of
everybody,
different characters you have seen before.
I know a lot of my friends have not seen it because they don't want to watch the violence. But then I have another friend of mine who is super hates anything gross, hates anything bloody. And she loved the movie. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. How did you watch it? It's a Bugs Bunny cartoon. You just accept the fact that it's a Bugs Bunny cartoon, that it's strictly silly violence, and you just look the other way. And I'm like,
I wasn't sure about when I watched the first one for the first time. I was like, I don't know, I've heard some things that's pretty violent. And then I was like, oh my God.
Have you seen the last one? Yeah, have you seen that one?
Say again?
Have you seen Deadpool and Wolverine?
No, I've only
Yeah.
seen the first one.
1 and 2, yeah.
I don't
Oh,
remember.
this one goes far beyond 1 and 2 in most respects. I mean, the amount of
I've seen a couple of clips, and I'm like, I see clips, and I'm like, I click away because I don't want to know yet. I don't want to know yet. But then I see like 10 seconds of it.
I
So you
didn't
know,
have any
10
problem.
seconds, and you know what's happening.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's fun. You just put your brain on hold, accept the fact that they're going to break the fourth wall, accept the fact that it has nothing to do with the other Marvel movies.
Right.
And just go for it.
It's silly.
It's just fun.
Which I've heard is very, very much like the comic books. But anyway.
Yeah. I haven't been. I like to see movies like that opening day because that's when you get all the geeks, you know.
Oh,
and
sure. We're gonna laugh.
It was cheering and laughing, and I haven't been with a crowd having as much fun since Endgame. Endgame, the crowds went nuts.
Yeah,
I mean,
I would have loved to have done that when that came out.
Screaming and yelling.
Oh.
So yeah, that was a good one to go to. That might be a good panel, you know, movies to see opening day and stay through the end.
We come up with a panel idea. Maybe scribble that down.
Oh, I was, at Necro, I make notes for Necro and for Southern Media, and at Southern Media I make notes. Oh, that'd be a good panel. Let's write that down. You know,
there you go.
Carry the whole phone around and make sure. I'm not sure what panels they're doing for Necro this year. I haven't looked at the schedule yet.
Yep.
Getting through one.
All we know is that it's still in progress. There you go.
Yeah.
So we're all still working on it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have our final meeting for Southern Media on Sunday. There's usually 6 to 12 of us that meet once a month. It started during COVID, obviously, because we canceled Necro, we canceled Southern Media, and I said, well,
Necro at home.
Why don't we use Southern Media as a test run for doing Necro online in September? And it worked really well. We decided you can't do song vids, you can't do trivia. You know, everybody basically wrote it and then just held their answer up. We did trivia, we did the panels, and at the end of the day, we only did one day instead of 3. And at the end of the day, somebody
Sorry,
said,
I keep clicking away, VR.
Good point. When we closed Southern Media that year, everybody's like, hey, you have Zoom, right? Why don't we just keep meeting once a month, like, you know, just to hang out? Yeah. Like, okay, we can do that. So once a month, all the 10 to 12 to, I think the most we've had is like 18 Southern Media folks, you get together on Zoom and chat about everything from politics, which is a big factor, to this last one, we had a big argument about redemption arcs. And I'm like, save it for when we're there. You can talk about it. What you're reading, what you just saw, the movie that you didn't want people to see, warning people about. So, but it's been fun. And we, Southern Media is also spawned out, if you will, a group of us when we quit going to the big convention in 2012 for reasons. I said, well, you know, maybe we can find another convention. And everybody's like, yeah, you know. I said, well, I use Airbnb a lot for vacations. What if we just pick a place and go? And they're like, tell us where. You know, I'm like, okay. So, yeah, we've been to most of the big cities in the South, up to Kentucky. So that's been fun. Kind of took so we sort of have 2-part conventions. We had a little one in January of 12 people, and then the big one in June of 40 or 45 people. So it's nice that you can, you know, that fandom has created so many friendships that sort of aren't just fandom driven, you know. I mean, I've known some of these people now. Well, like I said, I met them in 89, 90. And we've gone to conventions together since then. They've come to Necro. I've been to their houses, you know, they've been to my place. I'm visiting two, or I'm visiting one in Kansas this coming September. She's not leaving after me for 20 years to come to Kansas. Like, Kansas, really? Okay, why not? You know, give it a shot. Yeah. So that is where I will be. Instead of Necro this year, I am spending a week in Kansas and a week in Colorado.
That's okay.
Yep, should be fun.
Have fun with that. Absolutely.
Oh, I will. Yep. I've been to Colorado. I'm going out there with another Stonehill member. She has a cabin out there, and her husband passed away last year. And so she likes somebody to come out and then drive back with her. So that's what I did last year. It was a lot of fun. Never been to that part of Colorado before. It's the Front Range, right where the mountains become the plains. High desert country. Yeah, really interesting.
I know somebody who lives in the plainsy area.
Yeah, I've never been to the plains. That's why I'm kind of curious to finally get to Kansas. You know, we're going out to the Tallgrass Prairie, down to the Buffalo Calving Grounds. And then, you know, we'll see what else we can find to get in trouble in Kansas. You know? Been to Oklahoma, but only for a weekend, so that didn't really count. It was fun, but I was there for training, so didn't really get to see much. But like I said, yeah, Colorado is gorgeous. All the parts I've seen, even though this is dry desert and just flat as a freaking pancake, that part of it, it's still, you know, so different from Florida, and it's pretty.
Even though it's flat as well as most of Florida is.
Well, yeah.
At least
but there's no trees, so it's really flat. You know, it's flat. Yeah, Florida is the flattest state in the union. That is true. You know, because there you go there's a 14-footer, you know, 1,400 feet mountain, and then you're down at like 2,000 feet, and it's flat. So, in fact, where she's at, the cabin's at 9,500 feet. So,
oh my goodness.
Some people can't handle that. I went to Estes Park for a photography tour, and I got out there 2 days early just in case, but I've never had any trouble, so I'm good with it. I don't need to go out early. You know, I get off the plane.
That sounds like fun.
Go from there.
I wanted to do one of those.
It's what?
Like a photography tour package thing.
Well, this wasn't a package because I discovered those are really, really incredibly fucking expensive. Pardon the language.
Okay.
I mean, it was like $2,500 for 2 days and didn't include the plane fare. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Oh my gosh.
I rented a little cabin on the edge of Estes Park. I found a guide that does one person. That's it. And he'll take you for 2 days anywhere you want to go. You tell him what you want to take pictures of, and he'll drive you, because I didn't want to drive. I wanted snow and elk and good sunsets and good sunrises. Mm-hmm. And he did all, you know, he picked you up in this nice hybrid with leather warm seats because it was 26 degrees.
Yeah.
And, you know, hiked you up in the mountains. I had my cleats, I had my poles, you know. And yeah, it was a heck of a lot cheaper. I was out there for 7 days. Didn't come anywhere near $2,500. Yeah. Gosh. So, but beautiful, beautiful town. Yeah. I'm thinking of doing that in Vermont in a couple of years too, because I've heard Vermont in the winter has some amazing scenery and
yeah,
not so much wildlife.
Go to the I don't remember what it's called, but the you know, the if you ever get to the is it inn? I think it's a ski lodge in Vermont that's run by the Von Trapp family. I was years old.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
I've seen pictures of it, and I'm like, oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, I know Mount Washington. Where's that? That's Vermont, right, or New Hampshire? gets more snow in the winter than any place in the West.
Oh, wow.
So now when I got there, I almost regretted it because I got there late. I got in the little cabin. It was part of a resort, but they had little cabins on the edge and it was cheap. And I had made the plan to walk down to this restaurant, 2 blocks. Okay, no problem, 2 blocks, right? Even at 9,500 feet, that's not a big deal. And it wasn't, except they were closed. So I had to walk another 2 blocks. And when I got there, it was 6 degrees. And when I started back into the wind, uphill both ways, it was minus 6 degrees. And the cup of iced tea that I was carrying back to the cabin was frozen by the time I got the 4 blocks. And I'm like, maybe this wasn't a good idea, but it was fine. I bundled. I know how to handle that.
There you go.
It's just the wind was amazing. It was
Wow.
So
Yeah, I have not experienced that, but my husband has. But he grew up for the most part in Indiana. But
oh yeah, that could be cool.
Anyway.
So anyway, as far as media, we're in Clearwater this year. Like I said, if you want to come over for us or come over for gaming day, we do have an open vendors room. So if you just want to come in and shop, you can also do that. And we do have day rates, so you don't have to come for the whole weekend if you don't want to. It's $25 on Friday, $40 on Saturday, and $20 on Sunday. The reason Friday is higher is because of the pizza, and the cheese tasting is on Saturday. So that's part of your membership. There's no extra charge for that. There's an extra charge for the pizza. But again, you don't have to pre-order. We just put the pizza out. You hand me $10 and have all the pizza you want. So
there you go.
But yeah, we have a lot of good things for sale, a lot of good dealers. The panels are usually hilarious. I mean, even the ones that get a little spicy are usually, pretty funny.
It does sound
yeah, it's really funny.
It sounds like Necro, except funnier. Slightly funnier.
Yeah. Like I said, most of our stuff gets pretty amusing. There's been a few times where people, like, no, you have to breathe now. Stop laughing. You have to breathe now. Don't pass out.
Yeah. So again, this is next weekend, June 20th and 22nd.
Yep.
Again in Clearwater, Florida. Beautiful Clearwater, Florida. Luckily, I live about 20 minutes away from this place, which is at I'm not seeing it.
Holiday Inn.
Thank you.
Yeah, Holiday Inn and Suites on Gulf to Bay. So it's really easy to get to from Tampa too, because it's straight across the causeway. You just keep going, and it's the first major interstate past the mall, which I think is US 19 or alternate 19.
According to the websites that I've seen, the Southern Media portion of the website, like right here, it does say US 19. In
19. Yeah, there's like 4 major intersections right there. That's the one bad thing about it. Although it's easy to get into the hotel, and there's plenty of places.
Considering it's 19.
Yeah. Plenty of places to eat nearby. There's a really nice Italian restaurant in the parking lot. Literally, you go out the door, take a right, there it is. So there's a Perkins across the street. If you're so inclined, the original Hooters is 4 blocks away.
Think about. For some reason, I couldn't get my head around.
Like wings, I guess that's the place to go.
Probably passed by it 3 times.
Of course, there's a Publix right down the street. So, it's Florida. There's always a Publix.
I mean, just wait 10 minutes when you're driving. If you miss it, just wait 10 minutes. You'll see one.
Yep. The last place we were, there were 4 Publixes within like a mile and a half. Because we passed one past the airport. There was one closer to the beach. There was one north, and there was one south. So,
granted, some are smaller than others, but
yeah, true.
Or have been at a particular location for a long time, like decades. So there's that.
We usually, our hours are on Friday, we open at 4, although the con suite is kind of open around 1 if you want to come in and just hang around, get registered at the hotel, take a nap, whatever. So you can come down and have some. We are going to have espresso in the con suite. So if anybody likes espresso,
fancy.
Yep, fancy little machine and everything. There's free, if you're staying at the hotel, they have free breakfast. So that's nice, including waffles, sausage. It's a full breakfast. It's not just muffins and yogurt. So that's always nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Usually I don't have any set hours for closing. It's whenever everybody gets tired and goes away. And so usually between midnight and 1 a.m., we shut down the con suite and the panel rooms. And then Saturday, the first panel is at 10 and again runs till about midnight. Sunday is 11 and runs to 4. So, but we also, what happens Sunday is we pack everything up and then we go to Dead Dog at the Columbia. So that's usually around 5:30.
Basically, the Dead Dog is the after party, or
Yep. And we used to go just whatever cheap buffet we could find, and people are like, "No, we want to go someplace fancy." We have been to Burns. We've been to some Italian places.
Nice.
Yeah.
Those of you not aware, this is a really fancy restaurant in our area.
Yeah. The problem there is we don't usually decide until 2 days before, and you can't get a reservation to Burns in less than a month out. So, we never knew how many people we'd have, so we couldn't.
I went there once for dessert, let's just say.
Oh, yeah.
Dessert only.
That place is all right for. Yeah, so anyway, it's a great con, and I look forward to seeing everybody. It's always kind of, well, I don't know if you noticed, the T-shirt is done like a family reunion, because that's what everybody calls it. It's like, it's not really a con, it's a family reunion. So we got the reunion and the trees that start with fanzines and go through new media and whatever. So we've only done two T-shirts. We did one at 20 and one at 30. And if we're still around at 40, we'll do one then. If we remember to count right. And don't lose a day, and don't lose a year because of some plague, some pandium,
So again, this is a linked. It's the Little Sister Con I said earlier, Necronomicon Tampa, which is, again, it's older, and this is its 44th year. Like I said earlier, I've apparently been to it when I was young, but anyway. 1984, folks. Anyway.
Yeah, Necro's a lot of fun. I mean, we're the longest running convention in Florida. Longest continuously running convention in Florida.
At least in Florida.
Yeah, in Florida. Yeah, there's older ones up the East Coast. Okay. And of course, WorldCon is 70, I guess, now or something. So it's been around. But in Florida, there were a few that started slightly before us, but haven't lasted. And there's a few that started after us and are still running. There's one down in Fort Lauderdale that's still around. They're probably about 40 now. So, but just for, I was calling it Florida's oldest, and everybody said, no, you can't use that word. Yeah, Florida longest running. Okay, fine, whatever. Don't want to scare any of the kids off.
Just kidding.
But conventions are a hoot. I mean, Necro Gaming Day and Southern Media are all fun. Necro kind of caters to everybody. The other two are a little more specific. Mm-hmm. But if you just need a weekend away, they're great. They're cheap, and they're fun. So,
so much fun.
And, yeah, you can check out.
I can Wow, I must be getting tired. I can verify that.
Yep. Okay.
So, anyway, if you need to go, we can wrap things up. It is, we've been talking for more than an hour and a half now. Excuse me.
Yep. Be very
this is a topic we like to talk about. So,
yep.
Thank you so much for coming on, Debra. I really appreciate it. There's a link in the chat if anybody is interested in checking it out. So that's one site for both SoutherNMediaCon and Necronomicon Tampa. And so it's got all kinds of information and guests. You'll see some really cool guests coming for Necronomicon, by the way. But I will talk more about that later with a different with pardon me. And I talk to more folks about this. Also, maybe real quick before we go, next month I'm going to be talking to. I'm so excited. Richard Lee Byers is going to come on, and yes, I'm getting really excited about this. But he's such a nice man. He is the author of. Okay, I'm going to butcher it, but anyway, it's called The Head of Mimir. And apparently at least the first 3 of a certain series of novels within the Marvel universe. So anyway, if anybody's interested in that, he will be coming next month. Don't have a date yet, but that is forthcoming. So I think we're going to say goodnight, everybody. And again, thanks for coming, Debra. And that was so nice talking to you.
Thank you for having me. Hope we see you at Southern Media next week.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. And, all right. I'm going to end the stream, and I'll see everybody later. Bye.
Bye-bye.